Just like I do Busch Gardens and the SeaWorld parks. You wouldn't know how many of these birds that SeaWorld as well as Busch Sanctuary rehabilitate back in the wild. I get to go to Jupiter quite a bit in Florida, right? I mean, you all from Florida. I go out on the pier. My wife and I go out on the pier there. Every single day we go out there, she picks up a plastic bag, like a grocery bag, you get at the store, full without spending too much time on the animals, not on much science. So that's okay. Anyway, marsupial kids is an animal that comes out of the birth canal, and parents, you can do better if you can. It looks like a worm, looks like a jelly bean when it's born out of the birth canal. It's the most amazing thing in nature. Then what it does, it goes on the outside of the fur. It takes about an hour. Can you imagine this? It goes into the pouch where it attaches to the breast. It stays there up to 6 months, like the koala, the wombat, the kangaroo, the wallaby. And by the way, a wallaby is a kangaroo. Some folks will tell you it's a different whole species. Well, it's in the kangaroo family. It's a smaller animal. There are about 30 different types of wallabies. So once that little baby worm, it's amazing, isn't it? Goes up there and gets in the pouch. Sorry, here it's the top hall. Works at the Columbus Zoo. And this, everyone, is a clouded leopard. This is one of the rarest cats you'll ever see in the world, the clouded leopard. It gets to be about probably 60 pounds full grown. If it's a male, maybe a little bit bigger. That coat, look at the coat. That coat of that animal is from Malaysia, where I just visited. We never saw one because someone said there's less than maybe 500 left in the wild. We don't know how many left because only 2 people have seen them probably in the last few years. That coat sells for about $80,000 on the black market. $80,000, can you imagine? That's why it's almost extinct in the wild. Today, that's not the problem. They're a solitary cat, which means the male and females, when she goes in the cycle, the male can't find the females, and they can't breed. This animal, you notice his legs? During the rest of his growth period, those legs are not getting any longer. It looks abnormal. When this cat's full grown, it looks like there's something wrong with it. It's not. That's because there's 90% of his life in trees. 90% of his life is in trees. He eats monkeys and birds. Look at it closely. It's called the clouded leopard, one you very rarely ever see. We work a great deal on the zoos with a breeding program on this cat. Thank you, Julie, with the Columbus Zoo. And this over here is a beautiful baby mountain lion, cougar. Look at the spots on there. Can you believe that? That helps with camouflage. This helps with camouflage in this cat's first born, believe it or not. To see a cougar in the wild, everybody, I've only seen him twice. That's all. One's a glimpse and one a real good sighted one. The cougar is probably one of the most elusive cats, other than some leopards, in the entire world. The mountain lion can hear you. It's amazing. They take off. And you see a lot of the movies, you see a lot of the pictures you see, a lot of people track them with dogs. It doesn't take a dog any time at all to find a mountain lion. And the first thing the mountain lion does, it gets treed. And they usually take their pictures, and some people even hunt the cougar. But this animal, in Florida, what you have here, the Florida panther, what you have here in Florida, everyone, is probably one of the most endangered, even more endangered than this cat here, which is hard to believe. The Florida panther is one of the most, if not the most endangered cat in the entire world. I've heard numbers of what there's 100, there's 50, maybe 100 left. Can you imagine what you have, those of you Florida residents have on your shoulder? Not that you might not, I shouldn't say it, you obviously care about animals, you wouldn't be here today. But I think that really, that Florida's done a tremendous little fox here. It's almost full grown, can you imagine that? Has big ears, doesn't it? Why does it have big ears? To hear, but also, if this animal does not have big ears, it could not live in the desert. Like you see the elephants here at Busch Gardens, they have big ears, they're flapping their ears all the time when it's hot, right? Or even in the wild, if you go in the wild and see elephants like we did in Malaysia or in Africa, they're always flapping their ears at 100 degrees outside, 120 degrees, whatever, because there's blood vessels in those ears. That acts like a radiator. It keeps the animal cool. So without those big ears, this animal could not exist. It drinks no water in its entire lifetime, believe it or not. If it finds it, fine. The water it gets comes from the food that it eats, like little lizards and little snakes, as well as the big black scorpion, flamingo. Now the flamingos in this country that we have, and it's not easy, by the way. Busch Gardens probably leads, I would say, maybe 1 or 2 other parks out of 200 lead the country, maybe the world, in the breeding of flamingos in a zoological situation. And there, I love flamingos. And we raise them at the Columbus Zoo now, thanks to the help of Busch Gardens as well. So there's a bird that not many people get to see this close. And again, they are hunted for their feathers, I'm sorry to say. Some people do eat the flamingo, but not many. I don't know if I could ever touch a flamingo. But they, oh yeah, we got them stand on one leg, that's because his other leg's tired. Is that right? Help me with this, or that's wrong. Why do they stand on one leg?
Because they can.
We did not rehearse that. Did you hear it? I'm not going to do it again. In all seriousness, that obviously is a rattlesnake, and this over here I think is a cottonmouth. And I know some of you say, oh, I've heard of rattlesnake, I know all about rattlesnakes.